I am Slick Nick, the living legend of hair loss, and no one has ever in the history of the world tried to argue with that fact. And yes, it is a fact, not an opinion. Now let's get to work. I made a video quite recently called Downplaying a Receding Hairline, How I Style My Hair with a Blow Dryer and Hair Gel. Now, literally, if you haven't seen that very popular, well-received video that I made, it's literally me having just got out of the shower, I dry my hair with a towel, I fix my hair, and I talk about it for 12 minutes. And that is a popular video on my channel, I tell you, man. It's taking the nation by storm. With that being said, I did receive this video comment today by a name that I'm going to mispronounce. So let's just go with Juan Maciel. I'm not even sure. That could be simply Spanish, but I just don't recognize how to pronounce it. So here's what he had to say about that. Quote, "You have a full head of hair. You are just making fun of people who are losing their hair. But I find your videos very funny though." How many? 6 smiley faces. But it's not just a regular smiley face. It's like the cheeky smiley face. It's like, like that. Okay, so let's unpack this. This is very important, especially if you're new to my channel. Let's psychologically unpack this. Now, something I always remind people of. Often the way people perceive me and my videos is actually, surprise, a reflection of how that person feels about themselves. It's a reflection of their own identity they're projecting out on me. So this person watching the video is assuming that a guy with a full head of hair who makes all these hair loss videos is making fun of, it's like a whole tongue-in-cheek thing. I'm making fun and mocking the people that are viewing my videos. That's his perception. And I do appreciate that he finds my videos funny, but I would never want it to seem like the goal of this channel is to make fun of younger guys who have more aggressive hair loss than me. That is not at all, that's the opposite of this channel. What this channel actually is, and if you haven't watched the video recent where I explained what I learned in my 3-month sabbatical, it's a very important video, but not one of my most popular ones here recently. I've noticed that. Because often when I share my heart, people don't care. They want the 12-minute videos of me in the bathroom. What if I just never mind. Okay, so as far as the whole concept of this, I recognize the irony in that I, quote, have a full head of hair. That's a perception because, and I'm going to tell you, next week, I'm hit preview, I'm going to be making a video. And yes, I'm bringing back so many of you. You have a favorite character, the Oh No guy. He's coming back. And in that series, which if you haven't checked that, just go in the search box on my channel and type in Oh No, and you'll see I don't know, 8, 10 of these videos. But I purposely put oil in my hair and slick it back into a point to exaggerate the illusion of how bad my hair loss is. And it's funny because when people watch that, they're like, "Man, you really are going bald." And then they see me in the next video and my hair's like this. It's because I purposely make it look that way. But my hair is not as perfect as a lot of people perceive. But for a guy who's running the #4 most popular YouTube channel about hair loss, it does seem ironic. And I'm aware of that irony. But it's not as ironic as we might think it is. And let me explain why. I've said this, and I'm going to be saying this more regularly in videos, pointing this out to people. Who is part of the hair loss community? Okay, I think it's easy when you think of how many subscribers around, what is it, 7,500, something like that. When you look at all my subscribers right now, it's easy to imagine, okay, so when you look at the demographics of YouTube, typically it's under the age of 35. That's who's spending the most time watching videos. And more specifically, these are guys who are having more aggressive hair loss at a younger age. So of course, naturally, in the age of the internet and selfies and Instagram and all this stuff, where people constantly ask for confirmation of their identity with their smartphone. In an age where that happens, I can imagine that in theory, it's younger guys with more aggressive hair loss that are watching my videos. That's what a lot of us would imagine. And a decent amount of my viewers, I'm sure, do fit that category. However, what we're often not realizing, and I have to say this out loud to remind myself of this, a good amount of my audience, and I'm going to say at least a quarter, at least 25% of my regular viewers on my videos about hair loss are not balding. And I think we need to really camp out on that for a moment, really think about that, really explore that concept. That while, yes, a lot of my viewers are younger and have aggressive hair loss, and let's face it, I was never in that situation, and I never will be able to relate to that, right? But I recognize that somewhere around a quarter, maybe even more for all I know, but I'd say at least 25% of my regular viewers actually are in the category of they have virtually no hair loss. They have full head of hair. No one would ever think, hey, that guy has a receding hairline, or he's losing hair, or his hair is thinning. They would never think that, okay? But what's happening is they're regularly tuning in and watching these videos because they fear they will become the guy with those issues. They fear that might be them. And it doesn't matter their age. A lot of people in that category are teenagers, a lot of early 20s, some close to 30. They're all in that category of fearing something that isn't even happening, okay? So it is true that, you know, as you get older, especially as you kind of move through puberty and get through your teenage years, what's going to happen is you're going to see your temples probably go back a little bit. So, you know, when we think of receding hairline, we often think it over here, but it also involves this too. In fact, some guys have a straight across hairline like this, but then they've got severe temples, you know, recession going back that way. But that's, I mean, when I was 17, I had that when I was 17. And so, with that being said, what we see here is that these guys, they'll see that and freak out about it, you know, whether it's age 16, 23, whatever, and they think that's a receding hairline. They think that's the beginning of it, when often it just stops. And that may be you the rest of life. You may have a full head, and even guys that are like in their 50s and 60s with a full head of hair, you look at their temples, they do go back. That doesn't mean that you're going balding, but that alone is all it takes for a lot of guys to freak out about this so much that they will ultimately cast themselves into this group of people watching my videos, part of the hair loss community. And the reason I tell you that story is because ultimately, can we kind of say that I'm in the same situation? What I'm saying is the hair loss community is not defined by a man who's actually losing his hair. So really, there's nothing too ironic about me having this much hair and being 38 years old and running the number 4 most popular YouTube channel in the world about hair loss. When you really think about it, it's not that ironic, because I have a lot in common with a lot of my viewers who actually have completely zero hair. Now, I have some mild balding situation going on. If you haven't seen those videos where I more, you know, prominently pointed out my hairline or the thinning, I actually am more in the category of mildly balding. I just do a good job of downplaying it. That's it. But it's really not that ironic for me to have this much hair and to have, so no, by no means is this a joke. Am I making fun of people because of their hair loss? No, because as long as there is an audience for people watching YouTube about hair loss, I'm going to say there's always going to be at least a quarter who have zero hair loss. It's almost like they're just watching to kind of get a glimpse of the future of how to mentally prepare themselves for that. So are we on the same page now? That we never, again, need to say, you have too much hair to be running this channel. No. I'm part of the hair loss community because I'm showing up. When you show up, when you're here watching these videos and commenting, you're part of it. No hair loss is required to be part of the hair loss community, because the whole point of this channel is I'm helping you psychologically analyze and prepare for greater hair loss. So you don't need hair loss to be in that place mentally. So there we go. Now we're all fully understanding. I am not here to mock the people who watch my videos. I'm here to help everyone in the ways that I can. I guess with that being said, though, we could say that I have made some videos that basically kind of they do kind of poke fun at the people who refuse to move forward with their lives. The people who, I guess, are incels, they're never going to get help from me or anyone. As long as you and your mind are convinced things can't get better, you're completely right. Because remember, one of Nick Shell's catchphrases, anything you believe in your mind is true. Or anything you believe is true in your mind. Either way. And so I recognize that I can't help it. And what happens is I'll make videos like the Oh No guy. And what happens is incels see that as an attack against them. They think that I'm purposely making fun of them because of their own insecurity. Because remember, often in the comment section of these videos, we see people expressing a reflection of how they actually feel, or if they were me, how they would be handling this. This video is a reminder. You do not need to be losing your hair to be part of the hair loss community. You do not need to be noticeably losing your hair to be part of the hair loss community. Obviously, it's funny because back in the 90s, before most of you were born, there was that like Bosley's Hair Loss Club for Men or whatever, and like I guess it was hair transplants or something. And then at the end of the commercial, like the CEO would say, and not only am I the founder, but I'm also a client. And then it shows his before picture before he had hardly any hair on top, and now, you know, he's got, and like I feel that I'm in that situation too. I think it maybe in theory takes a guy like me that's kind of in the middle of everything to be able to really speak to everybody on the spectrum. Because let's all accept that the majority of the viewers watching this channel aren't bald yet. They aren't slick on top. Those guys have already moved on. It's the people in that seemingly hopeless, slowly progressing to that, the never knowing. Yeah, I'm not in that situation. Even at my, granted, I'm sure there are people my age that are still thinking, well, am I going to at least keep my hair till I'm 40? Am I going to at least keep my hair till I'm 50? See, and those people are always going to be that way. They waste, and I would say those people have poor time management skills. If you're constantly spending time thinking about something that hasn't even happened, and each year that lives by that, okay, well, I survived that much, but what about the next year? And then you spend your whole life worrying about that? That's poor time management skills. And I speak against that. I'm here to remind you. So what have we learned here today? We have learned that the hair loss community is not necessarily bald. The hair loss community is not necessarily balding. The hair loss community is anyone who elects in to wanting to watch my videos and try to sort all this out psychologically. That is who belongs to the hair loss community. Your comments for this 13-minute video belong right here.